good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Iyori Folari. We're in the season, so we'll stay on stay on the subject nowadays. But let's look in particular at the crisis. Anger in the Senate, one of the papers is telling me, we're talking about the Borno killings, 44 soldiers reportedly killed. But there's still controversy over that number. Some are saying that the number is higher. Some are saying it's not quite as bad as that. The military has declined to respond to inquiries from reporters, according to reports. But so that's the figure that they're using. So supposed to have been a somber attitude in this National Assembly yesterday. That sort of mirrors for us, perhaps, the way the nation must also feel about this. But how can this be happening allegedly by at the instance of Boko Haram, because that must be no small operation. If you're able to take even the rumored 44 of our boys out, that cannot be 1 week sort of an operation. So, and you know that we've been saying that Boko Haram is decimated, it's just a shell of its former self. Well, maybe we'll get some insights into what's going on and what can be done about the matter, because one of my guests this morning is Dr. Davidson Akimian. Now, Dr. Akimian is the National President, Association of Licensed Private Security Practitioners of Nigeria, and so he probably knows a thing or two about security issues. But then more importantly, perhaps, if maybe equally importantly, is he's also the presidential candidate of the Grassroots Development Party of Nigeria. So he would have that job if the electorate will give it to him. And therefore, he has to have ideas about how to address situations such as this. And our other guest he's quite frankly, maybe if there was any such thing as a producer emeritus, I think we'd give to Chief Dr. Fasi Yusuf. Thank you very much, Fasi, for coming on.
My pleasure.
Fasi is a lawyer and communications consultant. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on the program.
Thank you.
Now, depressing, but I'll let you have the first shot of it, if I can, Dr. Akimian. Give me your commentary first, that this happened after assurances that Boko Haram was on the back foot.
I have said at different fora where I had opportunity to speak on Boko Haram terrorism and Nigeria's response to it, that, you see, with terrorism, it's always very difficult to conclude that you're done with it, because, you see, it is asymmetrical kind of warfare, where the Boko Haramis are not a conventional army, and so, you see, by the time you use military force, and you appear to have defeated them, all they do is they retreat to their cell group formation. And at the level of cell group action for terrorists, it's extremely, extremely difficult for the national forces to defeat. So what happens is that they retreat, they regroup, and then they relaunch. So what has happened in the case of these 44 soldiers that have been taken out now is a fallout of the regrouping of the Boko Haramists. And that's what's happening now. It's rather unfortunate. I think our government and our forces need to begin to re-strategize on how to, to eliminate these terrorists from the northeast zone, especially.
Have to bring fresh thinking to bear on the problem.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to come back to you, but Dr. Yusuf, only the other day the president was saying that the whole Boko Haram issue is political more than anything, and that military action alone is not going to cut it. Now, does that open another door in terms of looking for alternative solutions to what has been the preferred one so far?
Well, ordinarily it should be, because like any form of insecurity, you need to assess the situation, you need to look back, and you need to strategize to look at the modus operandi of combating such a matter, such an issue. But in the case of Boko Haram, well, I do not know the meaning of political solution. Perhaps we may be talking about social solution, looking at the social issues involved, not the religious issue, because no religion preaches violence. And therefore, the social aspects in terms of what led to this Boko Haram and what were the remote and immediate causes. Why has it been sustained to date? Why is there no end in sight? And concomitant issues will have been looked at. Maybe poverty in the Northeast, maybe the state approach to management of the society itself, or maybe as a result of fundamentalism, indoctrination, and perhaps mind management. There are many issues involved. I don't think they are political. They could be social issues. And again, why do people want to take arms against?
Well, I wonder if the president, when, I hope I was paraphrasing him right, I wonder if,
I hope so too.
If there wasn't some sort of insinuation of that there are politicians behind all of this. Maybe that's slightly different from its political.
It could be, because if we look at how he started, Yusuf and all the rest, and he was a commissioner in the Borno State government and all the rest, and I remember it was a case of extrajudicial killing. That's led to where we are today. And if that issue had been nipped in the bud, or if it had been addressed squarely then or frontally then, perhaps we don't get to this level. And again, you now allow these insurgents to be exposed to Al-Qaeda and other groups, funding them. But the issue I want to also talk about, in furtherance to what my colleague said, was that, look, with technology, you can monitor these people. You can do reconnaissance. You can, with your screen and with satellite, you can really know where these people are, where they're coming from, where they're going, and all the rest. After all, they show us images when the Air Force bombs any of these places. And yet, with our satellite and all the rest, with the orbit and all the rest, we have not been able to look at this area. I really don't know what is happening. Is it our security architecture that has broken down, or is bringing down, or our military personnel overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude, or perhaps the resilience of Boko Haramists?
Well, it's almost as if, not that the administration will be very happy about what I'm about to say, it's almost as if Boko Haram is holding us to ransom as a nation. Just as we're about to say, okay, we can close the other eye now. Suddenly you have to keep both of them open. Say, no, it's not yet Uhuru. Now, Dr. Kimen, I guess it's a fair question to ask. How would you address this problem? I wonder, you must have given it some thought, being presidential candidate of the Grassroots Development Party of Nigeria. So it'll be interesting to hear what you would do differently.
Thank you very much. There's an aphorism that states that an army marches on its belly. And what that means in essence is that for any war effort to be sustained, there has to be provision in terms of logistical provision, provision of arms and ammunition, constant supplies. Now,
do you think those are lacking at the moment?
No, I'm coming.
Okay.
I'm taking you somewhere.
Okay.
So, one of the approaches that I think the present government has not adopted is the political economy approach to fighting terrorism. By this I mean, have we been able to identify who the sponsors of these terrorists are? Has anyone sponsor of Boko Haram terrorism been exposed? to the Nigerian public or brought to book. 2, the causative factors of terrorism in the Northeast, the neglect, social neglect of the mass majority of the people out there.
By who?
By government.
By their governments?
Yes.
Up there?
Yes.
Yes.
Have those issues been addressed? Has there been a reconnection? Because there has been a disconnect between government and people over the years, right there in the Northeast. Have there been efforts to reconnect the people, to reassure the people that they have what you call, that gives them a sense of belonging to the state? So all of these issues need to be looked into. And then government needs to carry out a massive de-radicalization exercise in order to wipe out that ideology that's been inculcated in the youths, in the full soldiers. Then from the military standpoint, what we are going to do if we come into government is to ensure that we carry out massive, reconnaissance, surveillance, and intelligence operations to identify leadership. Identify leadership. Strike off leadership.
Okay, leadership within
the Boko Haram.
terrorist
yes,
group.
within the terrorist groups. Strike off leadership.
But we've known the purported leadership, but as soon as we say we've cut it off the head here, he reappears somewhere else. And next time he's doing a mocking video. That's why I say it's almost like they're holding us to ransom, running rings around us.
Yeah, that's why I'm telling you that there needs to be sincerity in the process.
Okay, you're bringing on the corruption issue there.
There needs to be sincerity in the entire process.
Dr. Yusuf, I don't know if you can relate or if it makes any sense to you what Dr. Kieme just said about sincerity in confronting this problem. Because who won't be sincere about wanting to stop all of these killings?
Well, you see, sincerity in governance, sincerity in followership, sincerity in leadership, sincerity at home, sincerity among our leaders and the religious leaders. But beyond that, you see, my concern is the nature of intelligence
gathering,
management.
Okay, management. Okay.
In this country. And the second bit is identification of those that are at the leadership of these Boko Haram insurgents. For example, a time was when America was able to identify the leadership of Al-Qaeda and others, and they were all wiped out. But for years now, we've been told that Shakarau is a cat with 9 lives. Yesterday he was killed, today he's back, and all that. For how long, what do we really take out of all this? Is Shakarau still alive? And we've been told now that you have some breakaway factions and all that. So if you know all this, have you been able to make use of them to be able to handle the situation effectively? We are talking about the fringes of Lake Chad and what have you and all that. What is the government doing to have a reconnaissance of other places, to be able to identify all these spots? What about the Air Force as a military arm? And we also have the flying arm of the army. So if we cannot make use of intelligence, we cannot make use of technology, I do not believe that arms, bullets, ammunition will do all these things. No. Right now, people talk about staying where you are in Lake Keja and be able to launch attack on Lake Chad.
Well, the confusion for me, and let me return to Dr. Kieme with this, the confusion for me is that these are ideas we've heard over and over by many, many wise contributors who have come and told us that this is what the issue is. And a lot of those people are not really soldiers, they're not intelligence professionals. But they know this. It seems so logical. It's almost like it's commonsensical. I would therefore suggest that the pros within the intelligence community, within the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, must know this because they sat down in a classroom sometime and were lectured, tutored, very much by people like your good selves might have, you go in there and sometimes you hold courses with them. So the point I'm making is that they know all of these. So let's return to the question of sincerity. Where is the scope? Because when I heard that insincerity as an issue, quite frankly, it's a very, very close cousin to corruption. So what are those theoretical areas of corruption in this whole melee? We don't know for sure, but what, on a classical level, being theoretical, would be areas, because the army can't collude with Boko Haram. That would have been the major Baba corruption. So what's the scope for corruption, as has been mentioned?
Well, in the first place, I would like you to understand that the army is apolitical. Indeed, the armed forces are apolitical. And they are also subject to the dynamics of the political space. So when a commander, for example, is to carry out his duty according to his professional training, and there's a political intervention from supposedly higher powers for supposedly unwritten interests, then that operation, which probably would have been in the national interest, will be subverted. That's one. Secondly, in a situation where this warfare appears to be putting monies in the pockets of persons who had not come across such amounts of monies in their lives.
That is legitimate money by way of allowances,
yes, by way of
remunerations,
allowances, logistical funds for logistical support. I mean, you begin to see a situation where commanders may want the entire exercise to fester so that there will be an unhindered access to such funds for as long as is possible.
Of course, we're being theoretical here, as I stated at the beginning at the top of the question, that the theoretical areas of possibilities.
Yes. So these are all of the areas that we need to research into when talking about the corruption aspect of the war against Boko Haram. And I think it calls for serious concern. And
well, there's a problem here, Fancy, because along with the more general corruption that had bedeviled us before this administration came on, and in coming on, it told us that it was going to deal decisively with the question of corruption. Well, we found that even as they are making progress, there also is the need to act within the law, and this sometimes can slow things down, so be it. The important part is that trying not to seem like a banana republic, we have to do all these things by law. But that's regular, ordinary corruption, which is sabotage. I don't even know that there's anything such as ordinary corruption. But in the case where our very lives depend upon it. And as I was saying that, I realized that our very lives depend on it from the other one too. But you know what I mean. This now involves the intelligence community. It involves the army. This is a state of war. And the theater of war is not where you come and be talking about democracy. So what is the problem? And he just... And also, maybe you'd like to comment on the fact that I heard what Dr. Kimia said. But I know, and I think everybody else knows, that theoretically, a soldier is at liberty to disobey an illegal order. Now, I have heard this from different climes, and I don't think anybody's going to deny it. But the practicability of that, first of all, this whole matter about any serviceman is at liberty to disobey an illegitimate order. Of course, he might face the court-martial, but go ahead and prove yourself at the court-martial that it was a bad order and not in the interest of the nation that I swore to serve.
Well, you're getting me confused. I don't know what you're driving at. Are you driving at the corruption in the prosecution of the war against Boko Haram, or what? Or
why
the
is it
purported or perceived, because it's something you've not proved.
Yes. Yeah,
I just speculating.
I appreciate that, yes.
You're just speculating. And, well, there have been cases where some soldiers protested that their allowances were not paid and all the rest. And of course, going by the military tradition,
that's mutiny.
It was mutiny because it was done the wrong way and all the rest. And there have been cases where some commanders were removed and all that. But we are yet to see, unless you have proper evaluation of the situation there, or we have a system where what is happening there could be properly monitored and measured to see whether perhaps the manual for the prosecution of that war is known to some of us or is known to people, and now you can benchmark that against what we are experiencing. So otherwise, it will just be speculative. It will be mere speculation for us here to be thinking about what could be happening there. But if ordinarily that should be, because the war room was moved to Maiduguri from Abuja, so that at least for the chain of command and all the rest to be properly articulated and all that, and for the war to be pursued diligently. But then the occasional embarrassment coming to this country, and especially to the government, is becoming one too many. And therefore, I think government will need to re-strategize. And I think the military hierarchy, we have to do more. Otherwise, it will be making a mockery of the whole exercise. I mean, it's so sad that 40 of our well-trained men were wiped out by this ragtag.
By the ragtag, especially. Ragtag what we've been told is a bunch of ragtag guys, fighters.
And these are people without access to good education, military training, and all the rest. And yes, holding the country to ransom. Holding the country is an embarrassment.
It is.
We need to re-strategize. And our military chiefs, we have to really sit down and think or shape out.
Dr. Adekpelumi, did I hear that? In Lagos Island. Yes. Good morning, Dr. Adekpelumi.
Yeah, good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, and good morning to your guest.
Okay.
Good morning.
Yes, I would like to make a contribution. It appears in Nigeria that the issue of terrorism defies all logics. That is what we are witnessing. It appears it defies all logics. Yeah, terrorism does not happen in abstract. For you to solve a problem, first of all, you must know the source. The source of terrorism is to pursue either a political or a religious idea. That is the goal which terrorism tries to achieve. Now, what are the causes? Number one is injustice. You can look at the issue of injustice from the way Muhammad was killed. The guy that actually found terrorism. He was killed based on that injustice because some people were trying to practice their religion, and he was killed. After the killing, this guy took up arms. Now, I've made you to realize that at the beginning of the discussion that these guys were trying to either pursue either a political or a religious agenda. And you even discover that the geopolitical zones in Nigeria power. At the time, each of the zones wants power to devolve to their area. They look for a way to actually set up an agenda to achieve this thing. When in the southwest, when we wanted to achieve some things in those days, we remember that the OPC, they marched. In the southern part, in the south, we knew that when they wanted power to devolve to that area, the guys in Niger Delta, the militants, they came up. Recently, we are aware of IPOP because the people from the eastern part of the country want power. When the President Jonathan was there, when the northern people want power to devolve to the north, we came about the emergence of Boko Haram. These are the issues. We have to go back to our base and discuss the issue of power sharing in this country. We have to discuss it. The geopolitical zones. First of all, you have to talk about where power goes to and let that zone know that power is coming at some time. Because if we stop Boko Haram now, another one, I predict it here, I predict it that in the next 10 years, another one will emerge, another group will emerge. And I've gone through our anti-terrorism policy in Nigeria. The anti-terrorism policy in Nigeria is not holistic enough to address the issue of Boko Haram. It's not enough. I've reviewed the anti-terrorism policy of Nigeria. It's not holistic. It transcends beyond, the more you kill them, because it's an ideological issue. It's not an issue that you can't change your behavior like that. The more you kill, the more you have more people coming into the fold.
Okay.
So the issue are the basics. We have to first of all address the fundamentals. It's not about corruption. And I laughed when people said President Buhari will come and solve the issue that when he was a military president, he pursued some people to the Lake Chad area. So that is not the solution. It's not even about Buhari. It's not that the government is not working. The government is working.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
To the fundamentals.
Okay. Thank you very much, Doctor, for calling in. Let me bring that back to you, Dr. Akimen. It's interesting. He said in there that as far as he's concerned, he studied it. I don't know if he's a medical doctor, a doctor of book, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But he says the line that our anti-terrorism policy is not holistic from his findings. I think I've got to take a break now. Let's come back and look at that charge. That part of the problem is that we're not holistic about this whole matter. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're still in the studio with Dr. Fasi Yusuf, lawyer and communications consultant, and Dr. Davidson Akimian, who is the National President, Association of Licensed Private Security Practitioners of Nigeria, as well as the presidential candidate of Grassroots Development Party of Nigeria. And I want to say thank you to Mr. George, who's been holding on all through the break. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in. Good morning.
And good morning to your guest.
Good morning.
Uncle Yori, I do not agree with the last caller that says that terrorism is a political tool for seeking power. He said that when President Jonathan was there, the Northerners wanted transfer of power and introduce Boko Haram onto the power. No, that's not true. Boko Haram was already there before President Jonathan emerged. Boko Haram started in 2009. And Jonathan became president in 2010. If I'm correct. Uncle Yori, the truth of the matter is that whatever is the cause of insurgency, the duty of the military is to crush them. The military is having challenges, and the challenges I'm seeing from the far place I sit is that of intelligence. There appears to be several moves that does not allow the military to strike effectively, and that is puncturing their plans. the military needs to change strategy and to check within their home. I don't think that the way the insurgents are coming to attack military base can be done without the connivance of some people in the system. And these things keep on happening. I think that is the area the military needs to concentrate and see how that can be revamped.
Mr. George, the last caller, even though you've expressed a reservation about some aspect of it, he thought that our anti-terrorism policy is hardly holistic, and that in itself would be a problem. What do you think about that?
That it is not holistic enough?
Yeah.
Yes, it is true. We need to also address the other areas that give rise to terrorism. For example, religiosity in this country has got to the extreme that people are taking religion outside its scope of intention. Government needs to check that. You can't just hide under any religion and continue to commit all sorts of crimes, and then you are covered by religious immunity, what I want to describe as religious immunity. People sit back, use religion to hunt others and to damage the system and the country, and nothing is done to them.
Okay, interesting. Thank you very much for calling in, Mr. George. I remember somebody mooted an idea about we got to register preachers. Doesn't matter what your faith is, they need to be regulated. That particular idea, there were house of protest, but I'm not too sure where that has ended now. But Fancy, going to the whole matter about a lack of a holistic approach, well, okay, we've heard it. Would you put much stock on that?
Well, I think like another, excuse me, woman endeavor, it's always work in progress. It can never be, complete. You remember before 9/11 in USA, there was a security apparatus in place. When 9/11 occurred, they reviewed the situation. Thereafter, up to this moment, they keep on reviewing the whole thing. You remember at the time too, is it Guatemala, where they detained
Guantanamo
Bay. And you would think that America, that is the bastion of liberty, freedom, democracy, we have such a situation. But they had to respond to the situation on ground. And even with Trump being there now, he's seen so many things that ought to have been done that were not done. I'm trying to, and that is why, whether you like him or not, hate him or like him, is people, especially the supremacists in America, they prefer what he's doing because they believe that he's giving them back, he's giving America back to them. So the same thing here, security can never be absolute. Let us continue to try and try and try.
Okay.
Because the situation we have today calls for extra vigilance. Our security network, we need to be intensified, intelligence gathering. Then we need to make use of technology. And again, we need to address the issue of the moles within the system.
Moles within the system. Okay. Alhaji Abubakar in Abuja, good morning, sir.
Good morning, gentlemen in the studio.
Thank you for calling in.
Thank you. I think the issue of the insurgency, we must commend the Nigerian military for doing a wonderful job in as much as they have their shortcomings. I wish that we talk less and more actions seem to be taking place in the Northeast. But having said that, the issue of the war in the Northeast, the military have always been in the defensive side. I feel there's a need for the military to step up their game, to be on the attacking front, to be the forefront of this war, not always of the defensive. Most times you hear the military repel. You know, you don't just sit down at your base and wait for the insurgents to come and attack you, then you repel. By so doing, you are giving them a leverage. So it is expected that the Nigerian military should always go on the attacking front. And by so if you continue to attack them, you get them decimated. And I want to use this opportunity to console and sympathize with the family of those who have the gallant soldiers who paid the supreme price. And I must also commend you, the studio, for doing a very wonderful job. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alhaji, for calling in. Dr. Kimian, it's interesting that these things that we're hearing. I wonder what you think about this whole aspect of the gentleman who said that we don't have a holistic approach yet. I know Dr. Fassi has aired the whole matter. What would be a holistic approach? Because the way I understood it was that, look, there might be a host of things that need to be done in an ideal case scenario. But if there are 11 of them and you are really doing very well in 3, your flanks are open in the rest. I wonder if that is what he meant when he said that we lack a holistic approach to our security. Because in spite of this lack, we've been told with confidence by the authorities that Boko Haram is on the back foot. It's a shell. These are dying throws. These are, but as Mr. George said, to take on a military formation and do as much havoc as that, it begins to smack of, hello, is this regular? Can this happen? What was the intelligence? How can you attack a barracks when you're in a state of war? Those are the kind of things that really befuddle the mind of the ordinary citizen.
Yeah, I think with regards to that question of whether we have a holistic approach to counterterrorism fight, what the man meant was that certain areas that needed to have been taken care of in the document may not have been taken care of, like having to look out the issues of terrorism from one, causative factors, taking into cognizance the nature of our society, because the second speaker was talking about how that, Nigeria has come full circle in this cycle of terrorism and threats, talking about how IPOB emerged in Igbo land in the east, and Odua OPC in the west, and then the last being Boko Haram in the north. So, looking at the nature of our country, when drafting an anti or counter-terrorism document, we have to take into cognizance the causative factors. What factors could?
And this we emphasize at the top of the program.
Yes.
Meanwhile, in London, Mr. Martins wants to join the conversation. Good morning, Mr. Martins. Martins in the UK, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for calling in.
Yeah. Yeah, good morning.
Go ahead, please. You're on air right now.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to contribute to this program.
Sure.
Yeah. I think the issue of security, the issue of Boko Haram, as we realize, it started a long time. Yeah, if you want to compare this to other areas of the world where terrorism has been thriving very well, you look at, it's not an issue that I think Nigeria can fight on their own. If you look at what happened in Iraq, with the ISIS, it takes almost all the world power to conquer them within, and it lasted for about 2 years, if you remember. If you look at what is happening in Afghanistan, terrorism is still thriving very well there up to today, despite about 10 years, of bombardment with all the world powers. Assuming Boko Haram was being fought, immediately it started in Nigeria, this issue will have gone forever. But once any country allows terrorism to take root in a country, it becomes extremely difficult to conquer because it will have grown wings, it will have grown roots, it will have gone into the communities, and it will have been part and parcel of the people. And that is exactly what is happening in Afghanistan up to today. Eventually, America, Britain, they have to withdraw and leave it there. But if you look at the case of Iraq, they were able to conquer it because as soon as it started after the Iraq war, the ISIS, they were able to bombard it and they were able to conquer it. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Martins. Fassi, do you have any commentary on?
Yes, I think you must give it to the military at least, Or if you remember that at the time, Boko Haram was spreading to Kogi State, Cardinal State, Kano, and all that. And we thank God that all those places, Boko Haram has been wiped out and now restricted to the fringes of Lake Chad. But the situation there is that the military, according to say, can do more with intelligence gathering and more with technology. And again, they need to do some internal examination or re-examination to determine the elements, the modes within them. Because, I mean, for insurgents to travel about 50 kilometers, 100 kilometers, to be able to launch attack on the military base, you see, can we really talk of creative security strategy instead of reactive?
Which is the point that somebody made.
So, and for us to be able to do that, and I think the ministry must strategize, and there must be a summit, bring all their eggs, even the retired ones, bring them in, to be able to look at the whole structure and have a better structure that can confront this embarrassment.
Because exactly, you call it an embarrassment. It looks like we're struggling. And that shouldn't be, not with the kind of quality that we know our army is. Mazi Okorafor in Arochukwu, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Sayuri. Good morning, our guest in the studio.
Good morning.
My name is Okorafor. Honestly speaking, Sayuri, security situation in Northeast or any part of Nigeria or the whole country is total, what we need is total proactive action. Now, you ask yourself, we are in a country where we look at what we call the symptoms. We don't go to the causes of what is happening in this country. Now, if you check the whole world, you have seen that who is coming to create problems in their country. They are also foreigners and that people that don't even love that country. That is what we are seeing here. Now, you ask yourself, today in Nigeria, unemployment situation is getting out of proportion. Now, you ask, how do we solve it? That is what we should look at. Engage Nigerian youth at least 65 to 70% into employment situation. Let them get at least minimum wage rate. I bet you, Sayuri, there will be nothing like armed robbery, Boko Haram, Fulani, herdsmen, or herdsmen, anything you may call in terms of vices. But the question, we sit down and gather all this weight and dump it one side and nobody caring. Now, you see, time will come in this country if we don't take precaution measures now. You see people revolting. Because when you leave this studio, visit any place, maybe you are going to the market or visit any place where you look at some people's faces. You see that some people, depression and frustration have been written on their faces. In a situation like that, some person, maybe your handbag or your bag mistakenly touch the person. You see the way the person will react. You say, here? Now, is it not embarrassing to you? Are we waiting when that situation will be so rampant in this country before the government will take action? Now, we have a presidential candidate in your studio. Is it Grassroots or Grassroots?
Grassroots Development Party of Nigeria.
Yeah, welcome, sir. I'm very, very happy to see Grassroots Development Party in Nigeria. Now, you have seen what is happening now, rightly, what is happening in Nigeria. And people are talking what is happening day in, day out. What do you think at immediate action you as a presidential advisor will do for this country? Not a question of you solve insecurity. How are you going to solve it? Now, just give us
okay, Mazi Okorafor, thank you very much. Since you joined my bench and I accepted you for that question, so Mazi Okorafor from the bench here has thrown a question.
Yeah, okay, you want me to answer that? Okay.
Yes. Just, once in a long while like that, it happens like that.
Okay, Mazi Okorafor, thank you very much for the question. Indeed, security is the #1 priority of my government. And I've been able to...
That is when you get a government.
Yeah, when I get, yeah.
Yes.
Yes. I like politicians. Always very optimistic.
Yes.
And I've been able to identify what the security issues are. And, when you know the source of a problem, then you have 50% at least knowledge of the solutions.
Are you working on that, for example?
Yes, we've already worked on that. We've already worked on all the solutions we'll bring to bear in the security arena.
Because it is going to become a campaign issue. We're going to need... It already is.
Absolutely.
It was 4 years ago.
Yes.
And it's going to be.
Nigerians are asking for that leader that can assure them that they can sleep with their two eyes closed come 2019 and beyond. Armed robberies, kidnappings, terrorism.
Yeah, but what Mazi Okorafor wanted to know is what would you do that is different? And I don't think, sir, that you've actually addressed that yet.
We are going to look at the security architecture, the current security architecture of the country.
Okay.
And as far as I am concerned, there's a lot of deficiency in the way the architecture is designed.
So that will be your primary focus?
Focus.
I got to stop keeping Tunde in London waiting. Good morning, Tunde.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Thank you for calling in.
Yeah. I've got a different take to some of the callers, some of my brothers and sisters who have called, and some of them who intend to call. You see, we're in Nigeria now, right? I think we, the Nigerian people, have not supported the army by pushing the government in so many ways. One, we're not, the civil rights groups are not shouting, right, for their wages and other things to be paid. Secondly, we're not pushing the government to increase the number of security, like employing more soldiers, more police. We have wives, spouses who are widows, no father figure, no role model for the children. What is happening about their education, their health? These are the things that are lowering morale in the country. I can guarantee you, if the civil rights group push for this, you will see that half of the bribery going on with police and some of the behavior of the soldiers towards us will reduce because they know that we have their back. You had a program months ago when people were saying that people are coming through the airport in America and people started clapping for their soldiers. We are not doing that. Instead of that, we are really lambasting them. We're shouting at them. This is not right.
All right, then.
Let us try to please increase the security. These senators, governors have security people. There will come a time that they will overrun their security and enter their houses. So it's not only us that are vulnerable, they are equally vulnerable. They should take this into consideration.
All right, then.
You know what I'm saying?
Thank you very much, Tunde in the UK. Thank you for calling in. The point has been made, I think it was Dr. Kime who said, and everybody readily agrees with that, the army is apolitical, and our boys also have a high reputation when it comes to, their professionalism. When Tunde was saying that it's the way he sees it, that we somehow don't value as much our boys in uniform. I don't know. I didn't think that.
Well, the simple thing we're taught in physics or chemistry that action and reaction are equal and opposite. I don't know whether it's still obtainable now. But the point to be made is this. When the boys, anytime they perform brilliantly well, the society acknowledges them. The same thing the police, the same thing as sportsmen, men and women. If they do well, they will be acknowledged. If they don't do well, I don't see in any of these scenarios, especially in the Northeast, where our military boys were mobbed. Rather, they were welcomed. Rather, they were acclaimed. Rather, they were praised. And they continue to praise them. So it might not really be around to know what is on ground. But it's different from a military guy being hostile to the people. You also expect the people to react.
Yes.
And don't forget that the taxpayers' money is used to pay these people. And therefore, we expect some level of civility from them. And we also expect them to subject themselves to civil authorities. So where that cannot be done, they cannot expect the best from the people.
Okay.
But they have been appreciated.
I think so.
They have been appreciated.
I think so. Very rarely do you hear people berating our boys or, you know, we're quite proud of them. But you see, we're fast running out of time, but there still is Abdullahi in Abuja who wants to join the conversation. Abdullahi, the last word. Good morning.
Good morning, Uncle Yari.
Good morning, sir.
My name is Orabiu Abdullahi Bajan, calling you from Barumpa, Abuja.
Okay.
Our guest in the studio, good morning.
Good morning.
Uncle Yori, you see the situations of our security in this country is in the God's hand. One thing in this country is that we must know that our security, they are under pressure. Check it very well. You will see everywhere our security are not sleeping. Go to Zamfara. You will see some operation Granikia, go Kaduna, operation Kunama, go to the south, Crocodile, go to the southeast, down Staton, go to the northeast, Lavia Dole, go to North Central. What are we saying? Just some organizations in the northeast, they'll go rent hotel or house for 15 years. How did they know that they'll reach 14 years in the northeast, the fighting is continuing. Their hand is inside. Because of organizations, they are not in the northeast for like that. They get their business. If not, why they do not rent house for 1 year? They know that within 1 year, the war will finish. They are going to rent house for 15 years, 20 years. How did they know that the war will reach 20 years? Most of the organizations, they never registered. Most of the organizations, they get harmed in the war in the northeast. Check it very well. Our security must be take care of, look over some organizations, NGOs in the northeast. Because if not their hand they will not go to reign for 15 years. How did they know that the war will reach 15 years? Why did they not reign house for 2 years, for 1 month or 2 months? They will make sure that yes, this war will end within three months.
Okay, Alhaji Abdullahi, we've run out of time. I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you. Didn't wanna, but you know, we've run out of time. A fresh perspective, well, an interesting perspective, and we've run out of time. Maybe very
yes,
briefly. Very briefly.
The security apparatus, SSS, military intelligence and others, they monitor all these activities. Unless they are lethargic or unless they are not doing their job, they should be able to know. But importantly, as I said, you know, let us make use of technology and intelligence gathering.
Okay. You know, Dr. Kemen, very briefly.
Yeah, just with reference to what Abdullah said.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it falls within the ambit of the need for, you know, very strong intelligence gathering. Intelligence gathering, looking at the global picture. Not looking only at domestic sources, but also looking at international sources and seeing where the domestic and the international interplay to bring about the sustainability of the war.
And this will go back to the doctor who called in to say that, can we have a more holistic approach to the entire thing, you know, among other things that he said. Thank you very much, gentlemen, Dr. Fasi Yusuf and Dr. David Sinakiemen. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for sharing your perspectives.
Our pleasure.
Thank you very much.
So that's our program. Please join us on Monday for the next edition. We don't do weekends. Have a great weekend. I'll be Yori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.